Hello and welcome back to the channel. Seriously, whatever you are doing right now, just drop it, lie down on your bed, and hold onto your heart, because what I am about to tell you about the Brian and Lynette Hooker case is going to completely freeze you where you stand. You see, we are all tired of hearing the same old boring updates, but today we are breaking a massive secret that no one else has told you. You probably think Brian only has his daughters, right? Well, shut the front door, because for the first time ever, verified direct family sources have just confirmed that Brian has a secret adult son living completely under the radar in Oregon.
Brian Hooker's own flesh and blood son, Jacob Hooker, decided to change his name, and he is now known as Jacob Pellegrini.
But wait, it gets so much more twisted. This son hates his father so deeply that he legally erased Brian's last name forever to hide their bloodline. And just when you think Brian is hiding, he was just spotted cornered in a Michigan mall, firing his regular lawyer to hire an elite federal attorney with intense Department of Justice experience because a federal murder arrest is imminent. Seriously, do not make the mistake of skipping this video, because if you do, you will miss the wildest secrets we are uncovering today. So, how did this whole secret family bloodline explode into the open? It literally just dropped on Ashley Banfield's investigative show, where Lynette's own parents broke their silence. And guys, what they revealed is so wild it will make your jaw hit the floor. We all thought Brian only had daughters, right? Wrong. It turns out Brian has a secret adult son named Jacob Hooker living a completely hidden life out in Oregon. But here is the most shocking twist that shows you what kind of man Brian really is. Jacob doesn't even carry his father's name anymore. Why? Because of pure, deep-rooted family hatred. Before his mother, Elizabeth, tragically passed away from cancer, she openly despised Brian and warned everyone about him. That intense hatred ran so deep that Jacob legally erased the name Hooker from his life forever, changing it to Jacob Pellegrini just to completely wipe out his connection to Brian. Think about that for a second. How toxic do you have to be for your own flesh and blood to legally delete your name out of pure disgust? But wait, it gets even crazier. While his son is hiding in Oregon, where is Brian? Well, he was just spotted thousands of miles away, skulking around the Centerpoint Mall in Grand Rapids, Michigan, at a Sierra store with his daughter, Rosie. But get this, he completely ignored his other daughter, Carly, who lives right there and hasn't heard from him in 8 weeks. Why was he really in Michigan? Because he is running scared. Ashley Banfield's sources confirmed that Brian just fired his local state lawyer and quietly hired an elite federal defense attorney. We are talking about a heavy-hitting former U.S. attorney with serious Department of Justice experience. Ask yourself, if his wife just vanished in a tragic accident like he claims, why on earth does he desperately need a high-profile DOJ lawyer? It's because he knows the FBI is tracking him and a federal murder indictment is coming down the pike. But wait, it gets even more sinister when you look at how fast Brian abandoned the search. Remember those big TV interviews where he was crying, swearing he would never leave the Bahamas without Lynette? He literally told the world it would take a higher power to get him out of there. But guess what? While those cameras were rolling and he was putting on that big dramatic show, he was secretly working behind the scenes to get an emergency passport. He hopped on a plane and fled the very next morning. Talk about a massive, bold-faced lie. He didn't just leave his missing wife behind, he completely abandoned his family too. Think about this. He completely cut off all contact with his daughter, Carly, whom he raised since she was 3 years old. It has been 8 straight weeks, and he has not said a single word to her. He didn't even tell her he was in Michigan. That is not how a traumatized, grieving father acts. It shows a complete lack of normal human empathy. But if you want to know his real pattern, Lynette's father, Dan, just exposed a dark secret from Brian's past that changes everything. Years ago, Brian was fired from his job at AT&T for a very specific type of fraud. He was caught deliberately manipulating and masking the GPS tracking system on his work van to hide his true location. Let that sink in for a minute. He has a literal history of tampering with digital tracking devices to skulk around in secret. Isn't it crazy that the exact same digital masking pattern happened with the vessel's GPS out on the water? It turns out Brian has always had a highly unstable, dark psychological past. After losing that job, he fell into severe clinical depression, ended up heavily medicated, and was even suicidal. He eventually chose to live completely homeless on the beaches of Hawaii. Why? Because he openly admitted he loved it because it allowed him to escape authority and hide from the man. Now, let's talk about the absolute breaking point of Brian's story, because this is where his entire defense completely self-destructs under real scientific proof. Lynette's broken parents, Dan and Kathy, finally shattered his narrative by exposing the massive lies he told them on the phone. Right after the incident on Easter, Brian called them claiming Lynette accidentally fell out of the dinghy and was last seen swimming straight towards the shore. But guess what? He completely changed his tune later, telling other people she was swimming towards a random passing boat. Why change such a crucial detail unless you are desperately trying to cover up what really happened out there in the dark? When you look at the actual physics of the location, his story becomes downright impossible. Dan revealed that the exact spot where Brian claims Lynette went overboard was only 75 yards from the main shoreline. Even wilder, it was literally just 30 yards away from a shallow sandbar with only 2 feet of water. Now, do the math. Lynette was 5 feet 7 inches tall. If she was just 30 yards away from water that only came up to her knees, she could have easily just stood right up and walked to safety. His drowning excuse falls apart even more when you look at who Lynette actually was. Her mother, Kathy, completely exposed Brian's narrative by proving Lynette was a powerhouse track athlete and an absolute master swimmer. She didn't just casually swim. She regularly completed grueling 2-mile lake crossings for fun with her father. There is absolutely no way an elite athletic swimmer drowns in calm water just yards away from safety. So how does this nightmare end? After the incident, Bahamian police locked Brian up for 5 intense days of interrogation. They squeezed him hard, but because they couldn't locate Lynette's physical remains in the ocean, they had to temporarily let him walk. But if Brian thinks he got away with murder, he is dead wrong. As the trap shuts, Lynette's broken father, Dan, dropped a chilling final curse straight to his face, saying, "If you planned this, may you rot in hell." This is no longer a missing person case, it is a federal countdown. What do you think about Brian's secret son erasing his name? Drop your thoughts below. Smash that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next breaking update. Keep pushing for the real truth, and we will see you in the next video.